spectrum if you go from the unhealthy to the healthy relationships. So today there will be two parts. I think the first part will talk about the problems, what are the issues in unhealthy relationships, and then I'll get your opinion. And in the second part, Seema has volunteered. She will talk for a few minutes about genuine apology, and we will hear from her, and then I'll add to that. So I think for this small group, you can have, each one of you can have more time to share your thoughts so that you can all learn from each other and also from your experiences, from your own experience or your family experience or the couple that you know. So I think it's a more of a mutually learning and growing experience. I think to me, people generally talk, when they talk about the relationship problems, they talk about the arguments and the fights and all that. I wanted to go a bit deeper to see these arguments and these fights that I think are the symptoms. What are the underlying issues that when they are unresolved, then they lead to these arguments and these fights and these squabbles and all that. So I think the first issue in any relationship, I feel, is the issue of trust. If we don't trust somebody, then it's hard to open up. So we stay closed. When we don't open up, then the sort of misunderstanding is part of that mistrust. One of the people I think that we all learned as students of psychology was there was a psychologist in England. His name was John Bowlby. So Bowlby developed a theory that is now known as attachment theory. In the attachment theory, he believed that the relationship a child develops with the parents, more so with the mom, sets a stage. And if there are issues with the relationship with the mother, and the attachment is faulty or dysfunctional, then that person throughout their life have difficulty trusting another person when they are in a romantic or a loving or a marital relationship. So I think what he was saying, that when a child has developing a connection with the mother, if the mother is anxious, then the child becomes anxious. Child picks up the anxiety of the parent. There was a psychiatrist in America called Harry Stock Sullivan. He did the research. What he did, he attached the electrode with the mother's arms. And when the mother was feeding the child, they sort of recorded the muscle tension. And they felt that if the mother was tense when she was breastfeeding or bottle feeding, that anxiety from the mother, even her muscles, went to the child. And the child became more colicky, child became more anxious, and people would not recognize that a child could be as anxious because the mother was anxious. So I think that bond that the child has, so one is an anxious bond. The other thing is sometimes the mothers leave the child. They don't have that connection. So the child learns to be without the mother. So he just gives up in a way. He's not verbal, but he gives up. So he said basically withdraws. When he withdraws, he does not engage in that emotional connection. And then, so many people do not realize that the child sort of plays a very significant role in that interaction. That's why the autistic children, they don't show, they don't feel happy, they don't are excited to see the mother, they don't have emotional expression. And then gradually they have noticed with the videos of the mothers, with the autistic child, because the child is not playing his or her role, then the mother gradually sort of withdraws. And, for her, she would feed the child, but not that emotional playing and talking and all that. So I think Uzma is becoming grandmother. You could see she plays with the child, talks to the granddaughter and all that, and the child responds. You can see the child responding. So one attachment is an anxious attachment, in one the other child withdraws. But if there is a security, so Bowlby called it basic trust. He has written a book called Basic Trust. The basic trust is the child believes that if the mother has gone away, she'll come back. So there's this trust, that she's not gone for good. She's just gone to the kitchen or to the living room or to whatever. And then the child has, what they call as a, transitional object. The child might have a blanket or some kind of a teddy bear or something, and that starts to represent the mother. So the child holds on to the mother. So I think I'm basically sharing that the trust has been a very significant factor. So many times when the couples have problems, we never go back to their own upbringing. So there's a tendency to blame the other. The husband blames the wife blames the husband, or the sweetheart blame each other. But they rarely realize that what they have the difficulties growing up and what kind of attachments they have with their own parents or siblings and all. So I think that is the one issue of the trust. The second issue is of boundaries. Many families, especially in the East, we do not have a concept of boundaries. In Pakistan where I grew up, nobody talked about boundaries. What is a boundary? I remember my first experience even with my own mother. I was not a psychologist at that time. That I had written an article for a magazine, and I was waiting for, at that time there was no email or whatever. I just sent that, by regular mail. I was in Peshawar, the magazine was in Lahore, so I sent that my article for the magazine, and I was waiting to know whether it was accepted or not, because that's my first publication. So after 2 weeks when I come home, my mother said, "Oh, congratulations." I said, "For what?" "Oh, your article has been accepted to be published." So I got very upset. I said, "Why did you open my letter?" "Oh," she said, "Oh, in our house there is no privacy. Your father opened my letter, I opened your father's letter. So I opened your letter." But I was upset. So not only I was upset, I was also upset that she did not realize that she had done something, or she justified it. So I'm just sharing that example. Now I look back, that was the issue of boundary. Nobody had told me what the boundary is, but I just intuitively felt that my mom had violated that boundary. So I think all I'm saying is that the family that we grow up in, the culture we grow up in, if we don't have a separate room, we don't have a separate bookcase, we don't have a separate, whatever the issues are, that, in Pakistan or India, even clothes, the sisters share their clothes, the mother and daughter share their clothes, father and son. So some things have become very natural or normal, or it's just part of the culture. But as we grow older, then we realize that issue of boundary, and in Canada, I think the boundaries are very more clear, and we talk in a more clear way. And when we talk about the sexual harassment or violence, it is part of that many men have not learned that this is a woman's boundary, and so he would violate that boundary. And when she says, "I'm not comfortable," he doesn't pay attention. He doesn't take it seriously. That's why until she calls the police and then he's in trouble and all that. So I think all I'm bringing to your attention is that one is trust, the second is the boundaries. The third issue is what we call as control. So in an unhealthy relationship, one feels controlled by the other. Now the other may not realize consciously that he or she is controlling. I think last time Usma mentioned that people now, because of this location and this cell phone and all that people do not realize that when you're checking somebody's email or you're checking somebody's messages without their permission, the other person might feel controlled. That one partner is saying that this is okay, this is not okay, whatever that not okay is. And if you cross that line, then that person starts to control, bringing them back to that sort of thing.
Welcome everyone. किसके हाथ में है? क्या?
So I think just to recap for the people who just joined us, I'm discussing the issues that in any relationship they cause some difficulties. And I mentioned the first issue is the trust, that couples or relationships, if there is not enough trust in each other, then that can become a source of misunderstanding, and people may not understand each other because they're not comfortable trusting each other. The second, I mentioned the issue of boundaries, that in some couples, They grow up in families, they grow up in cultures where there is no boundary. The parents have not taught the children that this is the boundary. For the child, for example, I was in a relationship and we had a teenage, person. So I sat down with her and I said to her that in the house there are public places, like kitchen and the living room is a public place, and the washroom and the bedroom is a private space. So if you want to go to somebody's bedroom or they're in the washroom, please knock at the door to see if they're comfortable. So many people, they just walk into the bedroom, they walk into the washroom without realizing. They don't even realize that they are crossing a boundary. So even the concept that there are boundaries, they even noticed, it's not only in an intimate relationship, they even noticed that they put a camera in the banks, that when people will come and they are talking to the teller, so they realize that some men, they had the briefcase. And from the briefcase, they took their laptop. And they will put it on the table, or the desk, and they will open it, to talk to the teller. And they were intruding the space of this teller without realizing. And the person will get a reaction. So I think the idea is that knowing what the boundary is, or checking with the other person, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. And if you're not comfortable with that, then rather than imposing or rather than trying to change their mind, you respect the boundary. This person is not comfortable with it. The third part that I'm focusing now is the issue of control. That how one person can control, and that control can have many aspects. The control can be physical control, it can be emotional control, it can be controlled through finances. That you see many couples, the husband never shares with their wives how much they earn, how much they spend. They feel because they are earning, then they are in control and they are sort of in charge of that. So the women in many couples or many families are not given that information. We don't even sort of realize that it's a problem. So the control can have many dimensions. There's a physical control, there's emotional control, there's a social control, economic control, even where you go, who you visit, who you allow to come with you. So I think these are the issues that many couples, they're not even aware of that, and because they're not aware, they get into these difficulties without realizing. And the fourth part is what we call, when a relationship evolves, there is a certain level of intimacy. So the intimacy can be an emotional intimacy, it can be romantic intimacy, how you express your feelings. So in many situations, so we are not even aware that the intimacy is not just a sexual intimacy, it can be an emotional intimacy. And when there is no emotional intimacy, it has problems with the intimate life. Many wives that I met or I talked to, they said that many fathers or many husbands, they are not cognizant, they're not aware of that. For them, many men do not realize that women need this emotional connection. Before they are intimate, before they are romantically intimate, they need that emotional connection. Men, for some reason, either they have not learned or they don't pay any attention, so that with their wives or with their sweetheart, to sit down and talk, to listen to them, to have lunch with them, to have dinner with them. Even when they're having lunch, they're both watching TV, or they're both on the cell phone. So that emotional connection is missing. And when the emotional connection is missing, then that creates problems with the intimate life. The other factor, I think, in many of the Eastern cultures that come, I'm talking about the immigrants who come to Canada, or America, or Europe, or the Western world, they do not realize that there is an expression I learned that one Canadian friend shared with me. She used to call it PDA. I said, what is this PDA? She said, public display of affection. So she said that my sweetheart, he's very friendly and very affectionate at home, but the moment we go outside, the moment we're in the public, for example, you're saying goodbye on the bus stand, or you're receiving somebody at the airport, he would not welcome her, he will not hug her or kiss her, or will not sort of talk in an affectionate way. So in a way, many men, many cultures, they feel that physical or emotional, so that public display of affection is considered something wrong, something immoral, something unethical. So even husband and wives, where I grew up, I never saw any couple. My uncles, my mother's side or father's side, that husband and wife would sit separately. They never would sit next to each other. They will not hold hands. They will not hug each other. They will not kiss each other. आइए जनाब आइए
It's okay, no problem.
जो लोग देर से आए हैं आराम से रिफ्रेशमेंट लेते जाएं।
मैं ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਆਉਣ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਸਾਂ ਕਿ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੈਲਥੀ ਔਰ ਅਨਹੈਲਥੀ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪਸ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ 4 ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਟੱਚ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਪਹਿਲਾ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਸੀ ਟਰਸਟ ਦਾ ਕਿ ਹਸਬੈਂਡ ਐਂਡ ਵਾਈਫ ਜਾਂ ਦੋ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਟਰਸਟ ਹੈ। ਅਗਰ ਬੱਚਾ ਐਸੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ 'ਚ ਪਲਦਾ ਪੜਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਟਰਸਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਪਿਓ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਟਰਸਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ और वो एंजाइटी के शिकार है, तो बाद भी जिंदगी के अंदर उन्होंने बाकी लोगों को ट्रस्ट करना मुश्किल होता है। ट्रस्ट के बाद दूसरा इशू सी बाउंड्रीज का, हर रिलेशनशिप की एक बाउंड्री होती है कि वो कंफर्टेबल हो, लेकिन बाज़ लोगों बाज़ कल्चर से बाउंड्री का कोई कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है और वो एक दूसरे के कमरे चले जाते हैं, दूसरे के कपड़े इस्तेमाल कर देते हैं, दूसरी चीज़ा लैंदे ने विदाउट किचन दे भाई मेरी इजाज़त है कि नहीं, एक बाउंड्री रहती है। तीसरा इशू है कंट्रोल का कि किस तरह एक शख्स दूसरे को कंट्रोल कर रहा है, और कंट्रोल लाजमी नहीं कि वो फिजिकल कंट्रोल है, वो इमोशनल कंट्रोल, सोशल कंट्रोल, फाइनेंशियल कंट्रोल। कि बेगम को पता ही नहीं 20 साल की शादी हो गई है कि मियाँ कितना कमाता है, फैमिली कितने पैसे कितना खर्चे, वो कपल जो है ना आपस में उनको एक दूसरे की जो बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन है उसका नहीं पता, और वो बिल्कुल कई दफ़ा ये बेचारा शौहर फौत हो गए तो बीवी को पता ही नहीं कि कहाँ बैंक कहाँ जाना है, क्या करना है, कैसे करना है, क्योंकि वो एक लेवल का कंट्रोल। और चौथी बात जो इंटीमेसी है, ये इंटीमेसी सिर्फ रोमांटिक या सेक्सुअल इंटीमेसी नहीं है, उसमें एक इमोशनल इंटीमेसी है कि आप इमोशनली हाउ कंफर्टेबल यू आर, हाउ कनेक्टेड यू फील। And alongside emotional intimacy, there is also intellectual intimacy. Are you able to connect with the other part? So many couples, one person is highly intellectual, very creative, very artistic, and the other person is just the day-to-day basic sort of survival things. So the couple, so many husbands or wives feel that my husband does not talk to me because the issues that he wants to talk about are very different. So many wives, if they are traditional wives, then they have the traditional concerns. The creative people want to talk about poetry, about art, about literature, about philosophy, about politics. The other person or other partner has no interest. So then what happens is when you don't have interest, then they go outside the house, outside the family, and they have a circle of friends where they share their special interests. So we do not pay that much attention to those factors. So when we talk about gender-based violence, the violence is a final extreme. Like there are many steps before the person becomes violent. So what we are discussing today is how to make the relationships healthy so that we can prevent that violence, so that before the relationships loses control, how can we understand, acknowledge the factors, because what it comes down at the end of the day is when a couple has a problem, in the next part we will discuss that when there is a problem, how to solve the problem, how to resolve the issue, how to, we have invited Seema today. In the second part, she will talk for 10 minutes about what is apology, what is a genuine apology, how couples, when they make a mistake, how they can recover from it. So the idea today is that what are the issues in relationships, how can we identify, how can we recognize them, and once we recognize them, then how can we, we address them. So I think those are the Ali.
आप में से किसी को पेपर पेन कुछ चाहिए नोट्स के लिए तो प्लीज़ बता दें.
So for Sohail Arora ji and for Varda, we just introduced because I end of this sort of a part of the discussion. I just mentioned that in the relationships before they become violent or become lose control, that is the last step. So we are today discussing what are the parameters between the healthy and unhealthy relationships and how we can identify the issues earlier so that we can address them, in the beginning before the things go out of control. So I discussed today 4 issues. One issue of trust, that how couples can trust each other, and if they don't trust each other, then that can lead to misunderstanding. And I connected the trust with the partner with the earlier trust, that when children are growing up in the family, then if they don't trust their parents, they don't have that sort of secure trust with the parent, then it's hard for them to trust the partner because they are anxious. They feel, that the other person is going to deceive them or cheat them or whatever. So whatever the issue of trust we talked, the second was the issue of boundaries. That in many families, communities, there is no concept of boundaries, and people, sort of go into each other's room. They can choose each other's clothes. They can choose anything that is seem to be culturally normal. And when they come to Canada, and over here, the child will tell you, "This is my room." And even with the parents, that this is my room, you stay in your room, you ask my permission. So the level of comfort in that boundaries, we are not, you don't grow up in that culture. Then there was an issue of control, that one party might be controlling the other one without even realizing. And it's not only a physical control, it can be emotional control, financial control, social control. And when one person feels controlled, then they feel suffocated. When they feel suffocated, and finally they burst. When they burst, they get very angry. And the other person says, "You're very angry," without realizing the person has been feeling control for weeks, months, and years, and finally they lose control. And the final point I made was about intimacy. That intimacy is not just sexual intimacy. It can be emotional intimacy, social intimacy, intellectual intimacy. And when there is no intimacy in the relationship, then people go outside the relationship and they find intimacy somewhere else. Somebody had said that when there is marriage without love, it can lead to love without marriage. So people can have relationships, different relationships because there are certain needs. When our needs are not met, so recognizing the needs, and recognizing how to articulate those needs, and when we articulate, then we see that how the other person responds to it. So anyway, I'm just wanting to summarize it for you because of that when we are having this dialogue. So we will have ask your opinion about your sort of understanding of problems in the relationship. In the second part, then we'll talk about how to deal with those issues. And Seema has joined us today. She will talk in a few minutes about some of the concerns that she has, and then I'll talk more. So we'll just have this informal discussion. So maybe I'll just go around and ask you people, because the time is less now, so just give us a 1 minute response of how you see the problems in any relationship. The issue that I raised, do you connect with any of them, or do you have any other issue that you feel are a source of conflict or tension in a relationship? So let me start with communication.
So first, I think, as you said, trust is primary. You can still not trust someone, but still love them. So I think trust is the fundamental basis of any kind of relationship, and I completely agree with that. And other than this, one of the things that I was also thinking, maybe it will run through all of this, is communication. Because I've seen a lot of couples just not communicating their thoughts, emotions, feelings properly, or when it's communicated, it's not received in the exact same way that they express it. So that's a very obvious thing that I've seen in many, at least from what I've seen. So I think, but communication, I think, runs through all of this. So kind of gives you that idea. So those are the points that I thought about initially. Yeah, first.
Thank you. Yeah, I think they say the first rule of communication is whether the message given is the same as the message received. And if it's not received, then it's whether the couples are able to clarify or the other person listening. So we'll talk about it in the second part, how the miscommunication is. So I don't know all your names, but I'll just go one by one. So you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I had a question about the PDA thing you were talking about earlier. In most cultures, especially South Asian, PDA is viewed like very badly. Like no one does it. You family members or like you won't see your parents. You know each other for like all your life and stuff like that. So let's say in an example, like there's a South Asian guy and like let's say European girl. Well, in Europe it might not be frowned upon as much with PDA. How do they deal with that? Like the South Asian guy might not just want to approach PDA at all outside, and like she looks badly upon it, and like he might not love her at all. You know, how do you go through with that? How does one talk about that kind of stuff?
We will come back in the second part. I'm glad you identified that how if there's a couple, one believes or are comfortable with public display of affection, the other is not, then what to do about it. So we'll come back. Any comment you would like to make? Ustadji, any comment?
Yeah, my name is Anwar Sayyed. Okay, what I will say, as you gentlemen just pointed out about communication, I think communication happens to be the most primary tool, the paramount tool by which you can actually express and be expressed by your partner, vice versa. So I think respect and love. You cannot love a person if you don't respect the person. So I think the primary instinct is respect and then love together, and they go hand in hand. And as you said, that I see in my personal experience, there's a lot of void between husband and wife because they're not communicating the way we should, and sometimes they are either intimidated because one partner of the two takes over, right? And then that thing continues for the longest time until eternity. So what I'm trying to say is that there should be more friendship, more respect, more love, and open dialogue. And as you rightly said, that, you know, they should sit together, hold hands together, because touch, I think, is primary. When you touch somebody, you actually communicate certain vibrations, which gives you that feeling of being recognized and feeling of self-actualization. That's all.
Ustadji, you want to?
Yeah, I agree with all the things said here, but I think we are missing, it's my thought, I might be wrong, that we are missing a very important basic thing, and that is the problem is with the institution of family. That is the root cause for everything, where husband or wife, girlfriend or boyfriend, they are supposed to live together in a certain manner. There in this star city, in the GTA, at least I know 70 people whom I don't agree with them, like 80% of the time I don't agree. Sometimes I hate them, but still I meet them because I'm meeting them after 3 months, 4 months. And whenever we meet, I can ignore that 80% bad part, I enjoy the 20%. But if a person I like 80% I like, we have shared things, but the 20%, if we are living together 24/7, then those 20% become the real 100%, and then everything starts. And then touch would not impact, the sweet words will not impact. So probably that's my thought.
Thank you. Surinder ji, any comment you want to?
जी, allow me to speak in Hindi or Urdu or एक शब्द है तबीयत, त से शुरू होता है. ये जो त है, इसमें सारी रिलेशनशिप्स तारुफ से शुरू होती है एक रिलेशनशिप, उसके बाद ताल्लुक बनते हैं. तो ताल्लुक बनने के बाद 2-3 चीज़ें जो ज़रूरी होती हैं, वो होती है, एक होती है तमीज़, एक होती है तहजीब और एक होती है तारीफ. अगर तीनों में से किसी भी चीज़ में कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो जाता है तो वो फिर तफ और तलाक हो जाता है. रिलेशनशिप, आई थिंक ऑल दिस game of relationship is around that T or the ta. Any relationship which has tameez, tahzeeb and तारीफ always flourishes. मेरे पास कुछ कपल्स आए हैं जिनको मैंने ये कहा है कि इनके बहुत झगड़े होते हैं. आप अपने झगड़े कंटिन्यू रखिए, गाली गलौज भी कंटिन्यू रखिए, नो इशू, लेकिन आप सिर्फ जो है एक दूसरे को आप बुलाएं. तू नहीं कहना है, तुम नहीं कहना है. अपने जो भी मसले हैं रखिए, गाली दीजिए।
Thank you. Any comments you want to make?
I just agree that communication is really important in like any type of relationship. Because if you don't communicate, the other person won't know how you're feeling. But sometimes communication doesn't work. But as long as you try, like, then it's not your fault. You just need to try sometimes. That's like what I think.
Good. Thank you. That's a good point. Vardha, you want to make any comment?
I think, I don't know if you will have that part later, if you will be talking about it, but I want to hear, once you have those trust issues and once you have those boundary issues and all of that, some people are consistently in the same toxic relationships because of the way they were brought up or how their relationships were. So my question is, what are the deeper healing things we could actually use to heal ourselves? Because a lot of things that you hear or you try to do, those are mostly band-aid solutions if you're not going for actual professional therapy. So what could be like deeper healing remedies we could use to fix ourselves?
I think we'll come back to the next part. Thanks for identifying. जी
मेरी बारी इस दफा थैंक यू सो एक कमेंट है जो पार्टी कंट्रोल करती है वो ही बाउंड्रीज की रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करती और उसी को ज़्यादा ट्रस्ट इश्यूज होते हैं तो उस पर मैं बात करना चाहूँगी बाद में किसी वक्त।
Any comment you'd like to make?
मेरा कमेंट ये है कि जो मैंने अपना एक्सपीरियंस से सीखा अपने इर्द गिर्द और अपनी पर्सनल लाइफ में भी, आई लर्न वन थिंग, इफ़ देयर इवन रिलेशनशिप पेरेंट्स के साथ है, बच्चों के साथ है या हस्बैंड और वाइफ का है, इफ़ देयर इज़ नो रिस्पेक्ट देयर इज़ नो लव, कभी भी नहीं हो सकता। आप जैसे हमारे यहाँ बाज़ दफ़ा हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ का रिलेशनशिप ऐसा होता है जो भी टॉक्सिक होता है वो लव के नाम पे दूसरे को कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ करवाता है और कभी भी रिस्पेक्ट खुद नहीं करता उन चीज़ों की, बट इट्स ऑलवेज वो बिकॉज ही लव, दैट इज़ वाई ही इज़ सो कंट्रोलिंग, सो पोजेसिव, दिस एंड दैट, एंड देयर इज़ नो रिस्पेक्ट एट ऑल. So what I learned even with my children or family anywhere, my priority is always is कि अगर आप किसी की जिस भी रिलेशनशिप में देखते हो कि वहाँ रिस्पेक्ट नहीं है तो जस्ट लीव इट इन अ वे बिकॉज वो टॉक्सिक है, बिकॉज वहाँ कभी लव जनरेट नहीं हो सकता. तो मैं तो ऐसे देखती हूँ. Adiba?
Next to you.
Adiba?
Would you like to make it?
You want to say
Would you like to make it? Jirendu ji.
मेरा कमेंट ये है कि हेल्दी रिलेशनशिप्स के लिए आपने जो 4 हमें बताए कि ट्रस्ट, बाउंड्रीज, कंट्रोल एंड इंटीमेसी, तो इसमें मैं एक कम्युनिकेशन भी ऐड करती हूँ और अभी इन्होंने बोला रिस्पेक्ट, उसको भी ऐड करती हूँ. ये गिव एंड टेक है. अगर हम किसी को ट्रस्ट करते हैं हमें भी वो अगर ट्रस्ट मिलेगा तभी हमारी हेल्दी बाउंड्रीज बन सकती है. बाउंड्रीज भी तभी बनेगी अगर हमारा ट्रस्ट है. तो बाउंड्रीज हैं तो कंट्रोल आपका शेयर हो जाएगा. तो उसके बाद अगर कंट्रोल शेयर है तो इंटीमेसी ऑटोमेटिकली जो है वो हम एक दूसरे का वो मतलब केयर करेंगे कि हाँ अगर इसने बोला यस तो यस, अगर इसने बोला नो तो इसका मतलब है कि नो है. ये बाउंड्रीज है हमारी. तो दोनों तरफ से ये जो मैं हेल्दी रिलेशनशिप की बात कर रही हूँ. अदरवाइज बाकी ये सारी ये रिस्पेक्ट इन्होंने बोला सीमा ने सदिता, तो रिस्पेक्ट भी होनी चाहिए. अगर रिस्पेक्ट है तो मैं फनी पार्ट बोल देती हूँ कि मेरे हस्बैंड मेरे से तू तराक से बात नहीं करते. सच में आज तक मैंने उनसे टू वर्ड मेरे लिए नहीं सुना. तो मेरा इस उसकी मैं समझती हूँ कि ये रिस्पेक्ट है मेरे लिए, बहुत अच्छी रिस्पेक्ट है. तो रिलेशनशिप को भी मैं उसको एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी होनी चाहिए. एक उसमें इसमें ऐड होना चाहिए कि अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी हो. तो अंडरस्टैंडिंग से जो है वो रिलेशन जो है वो हेल्दी.
Thank you. आपका कोई कमेंट?
हाँ जी, मेरा अपने पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस से वैसे दस की मैं लाइक ओपन होना बहुत जरूरी है. लिसन करना क्योंकि दोनों जिसको डिफरेंट होते हैं, डिफरेंट फैमिलियां तो डिफरेंट वैल्यू ग्रुप्स तो पढ़ के आए होंगे कि जे अपने जो लिसन करन दी कैपेसिटी हैगी है ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਰੈਕਗਨਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹਦੀਆਂ ਨੀਡਸ ਕੀ ਅਕੋਰਡਿੰਗ ਟੂ ਦੈਟ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਸਟਰੈਂਥ ਆ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਇਹੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਹੈ।
Thank you. Another comment?
I think honesty is very important in all aspects, like communication. If we are talking about communication, relations, in all aspects. First of all, honesty. एक दूसरे से honest होना बहुत जरूरी है. Then trust, and then comes everything else, love and all that. But if you don't trust each other, if you don't open up, or you are not truthful to each other, there is nothing in the relations.
Okay, thank you. You see my any comment?
Intimacy से शुरू करो, जो intimacy आपने कहा है कि holding hands and everything. It's very important, and especially in South Asian, I've seen a lot that it means that if forget about holding hands, and sitting on the same couch is like a taboo for them. So it means that for a woman, it's very important to, it means that the acceptance is not there, because women are raised with no acceptance. Like I feel that you, okay? And even in relationship, if it's not accepting, कि क्योंकि ये मेरे साथ हुआ, मैंने अपने आसपास होते हुए देखा है कि एक सोफे पे नहीं बैठना, लोग क्या कहेंगे? Forget about kissing and holding hands are like far away, that part. And then I have seen that with my sister, when her husband and they had a fight with the mother-in-law, conflict was there, and mother-in-law said that if you slap her, then only I will eat, and he slapped her. So luckily I was going there to India next day, and then she cried to me and everything, and I told him that, I said, can you kiss her in front of your mother? If you can kiss your wife in front of your mother, how can you slap? Because anger and love are emotions. And the other part I want to add that respect is very important. Love can be optional in such relationship. Optional, it means to say that you can't really, like, I probably don't feel love 24/7 for that person, like depending on the day we are going through. But respect is not optional, that we mostly forget. And that's what Jeet's point, that both the parties can be like different nature and everything. And I always say that, and also in my sessions also I say that every couple and every person has a different love language. So I always provide an example that maybe my friend, a very close friend of mine, she's very happy whenever their partners have fight, her husband buys her a bouquet, right? And then she's happy no matter how big fight is. And if somebody buys me a bouquet, I'm like, वो $100 मुझे दे देते यार. I'm not happy with that bouquet. Why did you raise that $100 or $80, right? So she is not wrong, and I'm not wrong too. So it means that, not that the same guy is dating both of us, but it's very important to understand the love language of your partner. That not necessarily that what I want to do. And I think once it's been understood from both the partners, life becomes a bit easier.
Oh, sorry. Something. With respect, when you're growing up, a lot of people tell you to respect your elders, which is fine, but sometimes it gets hard when the elders don't respect you back. Because then, like, for example, like a teacher like dismisses you, doesn't listen to what you say, or like anything. So, and then you talk about it, like, you're supposed to respect me, I'm your elder, but it's hard to respect them if they're not respecting you back, because respect has to be mutual, otherwise you literally can't do it. So that's like...
No, I think I fully agree with you. I think that issue, now you are entering the family system. So if we have this, so the last session was in the individuals, today's session is about couples, and if they arrange another meeting, then that will be about the families. The relationship between parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren. So hopefully we'll also address that in the family system. So I think now the part 2 we want to the identified issues, whether there are the identified issue of honesty, issue of trust, issue of communication, issue of boundaries, all those issues. But when things go wrong, when things go bad, and people are human, they make mistakes. So one of the issues last time was that somebody said, "Oh, I apologize. I say I'm sorry," but then they repeat. They say sorry, but that sorry does not stick. The wife has heard that sorry 25 times, and he keeps on doing that. So we asked Seema that if she would share her thoughts, because she had her own personal and professional experience about a genuine apology. So we're asking that, and then I'll say a few words, and then we will go back in another round of how to solve the problem, how to fix the issues, how to control the thing that has gone wrong. So Seema ji, you go ahead.
So there's one thing that मेरा जो professional background है, I do men's group. I facilitate men's group. So उसमें there is a topic that one topic is that responsibility and commitment to change. So it's misunderstood. The responsibility is misunderstood. For example, that I was entering the room and Uzma ji is having a jug of water in her hand, and we bumped into each other and the water spilled. तो उसमें क्या है कि I'm like, oh Uzma ji, couldn't you see that? देख के नहीं चल सकती थी. Right, so now what I'm doing that I'm putting all the responsibility on her, right? Or I'll say that, oh, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, it was my fault too. That is a part of accountability. And I said, I'm so sorry. Agle hafte, next week, I do the same thing. I mean, that time I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. So that sorry has a meaning. So what is my accountability? In relationship, accountability is our actions. What my actions are to hurt, to continue hurting the other person, and or the choices we make that time. For example, in healthy relationship, we talk that fights are normal. So in fights, we purposely choose the word to hurt others. Right? उनको hurt करने के लिए हमारा focus क्या होता है? लड़ाई का और मतलब क्या है? कि मुझे अपने पार्ट जो माँ कहती है कि मैं अपने बच्चे को बहुत अच्छे से जानती हूँ, तब तक ही जानती है जब तक वो बच्चा है. ठीक है, वाइफ से ज्यादा हस्बैंड को और हस्बैंड से ज्यादा वाइफ को. डोंट गिव हर स्माइली क्लिप, यू आर नॉट मैरिड येट. वो तब तक जानती है जब तक वो किसी और औरत की आगोश में नहीं आता, गर्लफ्रेंड या वाइफ की उसमें हो. तो अकाउंटेबिलिटी हम लेना भूल जाते हैं कि मेरा एक्सीडेंट हुआ, तुम्हारी गलती है. आई गेट इनटू एन एक्सीडेंट, इट्स योर फॉल्ट. I'm gaining weight, it's your fault. I'm losing weight, it's your fault. तुम अच्छा बनाती, तो मैं अच्छा खा लूँ, right? And then, oh, I'm so sorry I hurt you. So what does that sorry mean? So relationships, the most relationships are breaking. They can break, but on an individual level, are we taking responsibility to take the accountability? Responsibility, either I'm taking the entire responsibility that everything was my fault. That is not true. किसी एक का फॉल्ट हमेशा 100% हो ही नहीं सकता. सो अकाउंटेबिलिटी में क्या आता है कि यस, फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से एग्जांपल के तौर पे कि मैं एक अब्यूजिव रिलेशनशिप में थी, फॉर एग्जांपल. सो मैं कहूँगी कि वो आदमी ही खराब था, वो मुझे मारता था, अब्यूज करता था, सारा कुछ था. तो अब सारे उसमें आदमी पे छोड़ रही हूँ. यस, वो हो सकता है, लेकिन व्हाट इज माय अकाउंटेबिलिटी? मैं मार खा रही थी ना. I was letting it happen, so that was my accountability. Relationship में relationship या किसी भी relationship में किसी भी चीज में हम self accountability और accountability के लिए self aware होना जरूरी है. Self aware. तो उसमें जो हम कहते हैं कि I am so sorry, what does that mean? It has no meaning unless it's a sincere apology. Correct. So because I have my notes in front of me, I don't want to miss any point because I have only 10 minutes given by Dr. Zah. So self accountability, self awareness होना बहुत जरूरी है. Self awareness में क्या आता है कि क्या मैं कभी गलत हो सकती हूँ, क्योंकि हमारी जो ईगो है वो हमें ये सोचने ही नहीं देती कि मैं कभी गलत हो सकती हूँ. राइट? एक अब्यूजिव रिलेशनशिप में भी मैं उस इंसान पर फेंक रही हूँ क्योंकि वो तो है ही अब्यूजिव, लेकिन एम आई टेकिंग एनी अकाउंटेबिलिटी? नो, आई एम नॉट. So, what is an apology? An apology is acknowledging that my words, our words, or actions have caused harm, hurt, or inconvenience to someone else and expressing genuine regret. इसमें हम नहीं चाहेंगे कि why apology matters, but type of apology में empathy based apology है, right? We all know what it is. Empathy based apology है कि for example उस माँ को मैंने hurt किया उस incident में and उसके हाथ पे चोट लग गई तो मैं बोलूँगी oh my god I'm so sorry, right? But लेकिन next week मैंने same उसको hurt किया, same bump किया उसमें और फिर वो गिर गई, right? Defensive apology जिसमें हम लोग करते हैं कि ठीक है यार I'm so sorry, what else you want, you know, बचने के लिए. जो conditional apology है वो हम सब करते हैं, रोज ना करें every day तो करते ही हैं. किस लिए करते हैं? To buy the time, उस बचने के लिए, to throw things under the rug. conditional apology है. But last one जो है वो हम कोई करना नहीं चाहते because अंडरस्टैंडिंग लाना बहुत ज़रूरी है, जिसमें आती है कि सिंसियर अपॉलॉजी. सिंसियर अपॉलॉजी में व्हाट इज इम्पॉर्टेंट इन सिंसियर अपॉलॉजी, and I always say that not in my personal life or in my professional practice, that in a sincere apology it doesn't have to be on a right time, right away. It doesn't have to be, क्योंकि sincere apology थोड़ा से deeper level में जाती है कि self awareness में, self reflection में जाती है. For example कि अगर मैं उस जी को hurt कर रही हूँ तो अगर मैंने उसको sorry नहीं बोलना है तो पहले I will step back. कि मैं sorry बोलने से पहले मैं क्या करूँगी, कि मैं उसको hurt कर रही हूँ, मैं क्या चाह रही हूँ, क्या ये मैं दोबारा करूँगी, पर मैं क्या दोबारा करूँगी. तो उसमें हमें लगता है कि हम दूसरे पर एहसान कर रहे हैं. Basically, if I'm having this conditional or empathetic apology, actually I'm losing my own credibility if I'm not coming to the sincere apology. And sincere apology needs time, self-reflection, introspection, and then you come to that point because your sincere apology will need a consistent your actions to fix your behavior, right? So किसी ने तो कहा है, पता नहीं मुझे उसका नाम याद नहीं आ रहा, कि the mistake is made once, when the second time is made it's a choice. So ये चीज़ थोड़े से points लिख के अपने खुद के साथ बैठ के, then you can go to the person, then I can go to Uzma ji and say that Uzma ji I'm so sorry, that action will not repeat and I mean it. And उस पर I have a huge responsibility to watch my actions, not to repeat those actions.
Correct.
Thank you.
I have a thing to say. Sometimes people unknowingly keep doing something. It's their habit. And then the same argument comes again and again. For example, if it's a lady and she's not good at cleaning up the house or something, and that's her habit, she can do just the way she wants. She can just do it this way. But the partner is mad because he wants it the other way. So the arguments keep coming, just because she wants to put something like this, but he wants it like this.
So relationship के egoistic उसमें आता है, it's nothing has to do with habit. क्योंकि अगर वो lady की अगर बात कर रहे हैं कि उसको flower pot एक जगह पर ही रखना है, so that is easy. It has nothing to do about.
Just example. I'm just saying she have the capacity and the time to do things a certain way. It can be she have a limited time and she have to work, she have to do other things, so she can give 2 minutes to this thing.
Okay.
And that's what she can do.
So in that case, husband उस चीज में सबसे ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम किसको हो रही है? पहले तो वो सोचने की बात है, husband को. So if somebody wants in a certain way, then give the responsibility to that person. Right? Yes.
So सीमा, बहुत सी लेडीज ऐसी हैं जिन्हें पता है कि लड़ाई के विद इन 20 मिनट्स के बाद कॉल आएगी. ठीक है, आई एम सो सॉरी,
गेट रेडी, वी आर गोइंग फॉर लंच, डिनर, बुके आ गया, हो गया, राइट। और ये एक पैटर्न है, ये बहुत अच्छी तरह से पता है, और हो सकता है ये मर्दों के साथ भी ऐसा होता हो, मैं सिर्फ उनकी बात कर रही हूँ।
औरतें अच्छा खाना की हलवा
हाँ,
बना रही हूँ,
लेकिन अब इशू ये है कि वो इस लाइफ को बहुत अच्छा समझती हैं, उनके लिए इतना ही बहुत है कि हस्बैंड अपोलोजाइज कर रहा है, वो मार नहीं रहा, ठीक है, वो ये कहती हैं कि उसने मुझे मारा नहीं, मुझे पता है वो फ्रस्ट्रेटेड था, उसे किसी और चीज़ का गुस्सा था, मेरे पे उतार दिया, या इसमें अपोलोजाइज जो करना है, ठीक है, उसको पता है, वो कहती है उस्मा विद इन 20 मिनट्स ये देखो अभी कॉल आई, और आती है, उसको कैसे हम रिजॉल्व करें?
लेकिन पहली बात तो इसमें सेल्फ अवेयरनेस बहुत ज़रूरी है। सेल्फ रिफ्लेक्ट कर लिया, उसको पता लग गया कि 20 मिनट में कॉल आनी है, स्टॉप एक्सेप्टिंग दैट अपॉलजी, बिकॉज हम एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं ना, है ना, हम एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं। मेरे पर्सनल एग्जांपल के उस पर जब लाइक यू नो इन माय रिलेशनशिप व्हेन दैट अपॉलजीज एंड देन फॉर एग्जांपल कि माय पार्टनर रेज्ड वॉइस, मैंने कहा कि मुझे धीमी आवाज में बात करो, मेरे साथ धीमी आवाज में, एंड देन उसने स्टिल आके चिल्लाना है, तो मैंने तो वो चिल्ला रहा था काफी सालों से, क्योंकि वो मैं भी एक्सेप्ट कर रही थी। एक दिन मैंने अपने तो मैंने उस पर ये नहीं कि एक दिन मैंने ऐसे उठ के कह दिया कि तुम नहीं चला सकते, उसके पीछे मेरा अपने पर काम बहुत ज्यादा था, जिसमें मेरा इमोशनल रिएक्शन नहीं था, सेल्फ कंट्रोल बहुत था, सेल्फ डिसिप्लिन था, और उसको मैंने कहा कि जिसमें मेरी टोन वॉइस जो कम्युनिकेशन का पार्ट आ जाता है, टोन वॉइस में उसमें मैंने कहा कि यू आर नॉट रेडी टू टॉक, प्लीज लेट मी नो व्हेन यू आर रेडी टू टॉक, आई एम हियर, एंड आई वॉकड अवे, बिकॉज मैं अपॉलजी नहीं ले रही हूँ उस टाइम पे। उसने कहा कि आई एम सो सॉरी, आई सेड प्लीज टेल मी व्हेन यू रियली मीन इट, एंड आई वॉकड अवे। आई थिंक उन्होंने कुछ कहा
जी, मुश्ताक,
एक सवाल कम कमेंट है कि लाहौर में हम लोग काम करते थे ह्यूमन राइट्स के लिए, तो कुछ इदारे हैं जो बहुत ज़्यादा औरतों के हकूक़ के हवाले से एडवोकेसी में बहुत इफेक्टिवली काम कर रहे थे, और हम भी उनमें अपनी कंट्रीब्यूट करते थे चीज़ों में। तो जिन औरतों को उन्होंने अवेयरनेस दी जो आप कह रही हैं, और उन्हें अपने राइट्स का पता चला, और अल्टीमेटली उन्होंने यही कहना शुरू किया जो आपने कहा, बिल्कुल ठीक कहा, मैं बिल्कुल आपके और उन खवातीन के साथ हूँ जो आप ऐसे क्वेश्चन करते हैं, लेकिन जो पावर है वो तो सारे मर्द के पास है, फाइनेंशियल पावर
जो है वो हम
नहीं, वो जो है उसमें हुआ ये कि उनमें से अक्सर औरतों को पिटने की ज़्यादा बढ़ गए इंसिडेंसेस, बहुत कम औरतें थी, बहुत जगह कुछ जगह पे डाइवोर्सेज हुई जिसको अगेन सोसाइटी एक्सेप्ट नहीं करती। मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि ना किया जाए, लेकिन इसकी रिपरकशन सिर्फ अवेयरनेस से काम चलता नहीं है, शायद दूसरी साइड पे जो ऑपरेसर है उसको हमें अवेयरनेस देने की जरूरत है, रियलाइज करने की जरूरत है।
बिफोर मैं सुरेंद्र जी को तो मैं क्विकली इनका जवाब दे दूं कि उसमें देखो, या तो एक जो बिल्कुल गांव में चार दीवारी में जहाँ बिल्कुल सोशल मीडिया नहीं है, तो आपको है ही नहीं कि दुनिया में और क्या चल रहा है, वो एक अलग कहानी है, उसमें आप जिए, आपने जिंदगी जी, ऑपरेशन में जी, जैसे मर्जी थी, और आप मर गए, चले गए। लेकिन आप दुनिया में हैं, एम्पावर किया या नहीं किया, वो घर में जब पिट रही थी, या साइलेंट डिवोर्सेस जो होते हैं, बिना मार खाए जो अब्यूजेस होते हैं, वो चल रहे थे, तो उसको ये पता था कि वो गलत चल रहा है, ठीक है ना। एम्पावर किसी को तब तक नहीं किया जा सकता, एम्पावरमेंट आपके अंदर ही होती है। आज अगर आके डॉक्टर साहब मुझे कहेंगी सीमा तुम्हें बहुत पावर है, वो बात मुझे पता होगी, बस सिर्फ मुझे उनको बताने की जरूरत है कि तुम्हारे पास पंख हैं, पर हैं तुम्हारे पास, ठीक है, सबके अंदर हमारे होती है। जब मुझे मेरा क्लाइंट कहता है कि लाइट दिखाए, वो तुमने मुझे लाइट दी, मैंने कहा मैंने तुम्हें कुछ नहीं दिया, सिर्फ शीशा तुम्हारे सामने रखा, लाइट तुम्हारी थी। सुरेंद्र जी,
टेस्ट ट्यूब बेबीज होते थे, कुछ टाइम पहले शुरू हुए। टेस्ट ट्यूब बेबीज के बाद अब हम क्लिनिकल रिलेशनशिप्स में चल रहे हैं। जंगल हम काट रहे हैं, बैकयार्ड हम बड़े कर रहे हैं। हम आर्टिफिशियल फ्लावर्स की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं, हम आर्टिफिशियल फ्रूट्स की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं, आर्टिफिशियल वेजिटेबल्स आ रही हैं, और आर्टिफिशियल रिलेशनशिप्स भी आ रही हैं। वो किसी मीना ने बताया तो मैं भी एक शायर की बात करूँगा। शायर ने कहा कि न वो हुस्न में रही गर्मियाँ, न वो इश्क में रही शोखियाँ, न वो गजनबी में तड़प रही, न वो खम है जुल्फ़े ने। क्या कहते, मोहब्बतें ख़त्म होती जा रही हैं, उस मोहब्बत के बीच को कोई पानी नहीं डालता। तमीज़ और तहजीब जो है, हाय हाउ आर यू, हस्बैंड को क्या कहना चाहिए, वाइफ को कहना चाहिए आई एम फाइन थैंक यू, हाउ वाज योर डे, यस डार्लिंग माय डे वाज फाइन एज वेल। तो रिस्पेक्ट भी हो गई, सब कुछ हो गया। रिलेशनशिप शायद किसी अलमारी में किसी।
अलाउ मी टू इंटरजेक्ट हियर। आपने कहा ना कि हर चीज़ आर्टिफिशियल हो गई है, तो अब तो जो फ्रूट्स आ रहे हैं वो भी सीडलेस आ रहे हैं
जी।
तो क्या बता रहे हैं, जब सीड्स जो है वो लाइफ का ओरिजिन है, इंसेप्शन है, स्टार्ट है, जब सीड ही नहीं होगी तो आप सोचिए हम कहाँ फेंक कर रहे हैं। इट्स डिजास्टर।
आई नो कि आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन बाकी कि हमें 4 o'clock खत्म करनी है। मुश्ताक साहब की बात पे एक कमेंट है। मुश्ताक साहब, जो अवेयरनेस की आपने बात की और डाइवोर्स रेट्स बढ़ रहे हैं, ठीक है, मैं ऐसी बहुत सारी लेडीज़ को जानती हूँ, अवेयरनेस की वजह से वो लोग शेल्टर में हैं, 3 महीने के बाद शेल्टर में वो रह नहीं सकते, फ्रॉम शेल्टर टू शेल्टर वो जा रही हैं, वो बच्चों को रुलता देख रही हैं, कभी एक स्कूल में कभी दूसरे, फिर वो कहती हैं इट्स बेटर कि हम उस एब्यूसिव रिलेशन में चले जाएं, हम मार खा लें, बच्चे नहीं रुलेंगे, बच्चों को वहाँ फूड मिलेगा अपनी पसंद का, वो मैंगो मिल्क शेक पी सकते हैं जो शायद शेल्टर में नहीं पी सके, उनको दाल रोटी मिल रही है शायद शेल्टर में नहीं मिल रही। ये रियलिटी है यहाँ जो मैं शायद एवरी डे फेस कर रही हूँ। जी सी
छोटी सी बात होगी बिफोर आई गेट हियर। सो मैं मेंस ग्रुप वीकली बेसिस पे आई रन फैसिलिटेट मेंस ग्रुप एंड आई ऑलवेज से टू दोस मैन दैट आई हैव अ हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट दैट you guys need to be empowered this time. Women have empowered enough and that was not very useful. You know, जो उस्मा जी ने कहा है, empowered का मतलब ये नहीं कि आप खड़े होके अभी एक हाथ से पीट रहे थे तो अभी दोनों हाथों से पीटना शुरू कर दें। अगर तो जनरेशन को आगे चलना है, बिकॉज वुमेन के पास अभी ये पावर आ गई है कि वो माँ नहीं बनना चाहती। You know, there are many women, many girls are on that track that they don't want to have child. राइट, तो अगर ये इस प्लैनेट को आगे बढ़ाना है तो इस टाइम मैन को डिफरेंटली एम्पावर्ड होना पड़ेगा।
थैंक यू। सो आई थिंक वी आर glad we are having this very passionate discussion. I think those are the issues from the individual. We are going to the couples today, but the couple, if we continue these discussions, will go to the family. And if we continue further, we'll go to the community, to the culture. So they're all interconnected, you know, because something that are culturally, socially, religiously, is acceptable, so we don't even realize. So this is the discussion of social awareness, that before the problem can be solved, we need to realize what is the problem, what are the sources, causes of the problem, and then how can we address that. So after the awareness, I think being a clinical psychologist or psychotherapist, in my office or in my clinic, when I see many couples, so one of the things we use, so we are talking very practical, pragmatic things. So we talk about the communication. So in the communication, some of you are aware of this green zone philosophy. So we use what we call green zone words and red zone words. These red zone words seem to cause some difficulties in the communication, and many people are not even aware that they are using that. For example, so I'm going to sort of share 3 red zone words that I thought in couples, that these are not something I read in books, this is based on my professional experience in my clinic. The first red zone word is should. The moment a couple started using the word should, unconsciously they are treating the other person like a child. You should do this, or you should not do this. So the other person feels that this person is judging me, this person is telling me that I'm doing something wrong, and he or she is telling me what to do. One lady, I asked her, can you put this word on your fridge, because she uses it so frequently. In every 3rd sentence she had this word should. Not only for others, but also for herself. She was very self-deprecatory, that I should be doing this, I should do this, I should not, don't do this. So first word is the should. That should creates a lot of difficulties in the communication, even without realizing. the person is not angry, is not frustrated, is not, but they are giving you this email lecture. For example, I love McDonald's. Once a month I do. So somebody told me, Dr. Saab, this is junk food. I love junk food sometimes. But the point is, you are telling somebody that you are wrong, what you are doing is bad, or whether it's unethical, immoral, whatever. So so this is the awareness. The second red zone word that I realize is always. And the third is never. So the example will be that he comes home, and he got stuck in traffic and he was late. So the wife was waiting for him for dinner. So when he says, like somebody said, he apologizes that I'm sorry I'm late because I got stuck in traffic. So rather than accepting that, and she says, you're always late. Okay? Now there's no answer to that. So this 20 years of relationship, she's putting in one sentence, you're always late. Then sometimes he says, and you never listen to me. So this never listen to me is this 30 years relationship. So what happens is, in this communication, the problem of the day, whether you are late or you are frustrated or whatever. So to me, part of the communication is couples or any relationships, you can stay for the today. We are having a problem today, can we discuss it today? But if you put it for the whole relationship, then you lose, the communication is not going to work. Because there is no way anybody can justify 20 years or 10 years, and that's an exaggeration. So this is part of the communication, and day to day I just bring to couples' attention that if you will be aware when you are using should, never and always, if one of the partners or both partners have this tendency, then even that awareness in their weekly meetings. So, and if they cannot have a communication, a dialogue, then sometimes we give them a simple sort of a skill. We say to them, give each other 5 minutes. So you speak, rather than having dialogue. You speak for 5 minutes, whatever you have to say, and the other person does not interrupt. Then there is a break. Then the other person says for 5 minutes. So in that way, I think somebody mentioned that in the communication, the art of listening. When people, as therapists, we say, Ritesh is a student, he's learning to be a therapist. So for the therapist, one of the basic quality of a good therapist is he or she knows the art of listening. So when you're listening, you're not listening the words. You're not listening what he or she is saying. You're also listening what they're trying to say. So they're trying to say, words are just a gesture of you have certain feelings and sentiments, certain ideas you are using words to express. And the words may not be perfect. But if you're a good listener, you get at what the person is trying to say. Then you respond to what you are trying to say rather than the words. And some people, they catch, you might make a grammatical mistake or you might have an awkward construction of a sentence, but you're not getting to the bottom of that. So I think that weekly meeting, you are able to communicate. And if you are not good in communicating verbally, sometimes we encourage them to write. So what you have to say, what you are upset about, you write it down. Send an email, send a note. Because when you are writing, the part of the brain that exercises writing is different than when we are talking. In the talking, we are just emotionally, we are expressing. And if we write, some of the other, we are more serious about writing. And when we read it 2 or 3 times, then sometimes we ask the other person that can you respond in writing? That doesn't mean that you are not able to talk, you will still discuss. But if there is a written exchange before the verbal exchange, the chances of communication to be improving is better. So that's one thing. The second part, what I want to make is that when there is a conflict in any relationship, we say there are 3 ways of dealing with it. One is to resolve it. If both parties are genuinely interested, they genuinely respect and care for each other, they want to improve the relationship, then they are willing and they are able to resolve whatever the issue is. If they are not able to resolve, then can we dissolve? And dissolve does not mean that you have to end the relationship. Like I have some friends, there is a certain subject I cannot discuss with them. So I have realized it's a red zone subject. The relationship is in the green zone. It's a healthy, friendly, affectionate relationship. But there is one part, 10% is in the red zone, 90% is in the green. So, for example, I have a friend, I cannot talk to him about Palestine and Israel. That issue is a red zone issue. Whenever we talk, we are not on the same page. The second one, he is very religious. I'm a very secular person. We do not have a good relationship or dialogue on religion. So the third one is about this sort of environment. Sort of we have issues. The fourth one about gay, lesbians, and all that. So what I'm saying is that in the past, that 10% red zone used to cover the whole relationship. It's like a red sock in the white laundry. And I used to end the relationship because this person is whatever. Now I feel that he respects me, she respects me, I like her. We have a good relationship. But on this particular issue, so identifying, I'm just making a point, that in any relationship, sometimes identifying the issue that is the red zone issue, that for some reason we're not able to talk, and not letting it smear or cover or stain the whole relationship. So I think those are the issues. One more point is the flexibility, that how flexible we are or how rigid we are. I think in a healthy communication, Uzma asked me once when I said in our slide an A, B, and C model, she said, what is the A, B, and C model? And I shared that when two people are having a discussion, one has a point A, the other has a point B. In many couples or many friendships, they are trying to convince the other one. A is trying to convince B about A, and the B is trying to convince A about B. But sometimes we have to go to a C. The C does not actually exist, but two people are negotiating, they are talking, they are taking responsibility of their own feelings, of their own thoughts, and they work as a team. So the question is, two people, husband and wife, are they enemies, are they fighting? Or they are saying we are a team and we want to solve a problem. We want to improve the relationship. And when there is a goodwill, and there is a genuine kind of understanding, then you identify. I think Varda asked, when there is underlying issues, then we say, okay, we as a couple have this problem. We cannot communicate on this issue. So what do we do about it? So I think both parties then take responsibility. And that responsibility, I think one of my patients said that I'm willing to take 100% responsibility of my 50%. So I think that 50% that I can change or I can do something, once I say this relationship is worth of doing that change, of going through that process, either by self-reflection, and if we need therapy or we need counseling or we need some mediation, and sometimes we need a third party. It could be a parent, a neighbor, a friend, someone that both parties trust. If both trust, then that person can become a mediator. And when they become a mediator, then he or she listens to A, listens to B, and then come up with some input and whatever. So I think I want to, I'm just summarizing because I want to give you people another round, go round, so that you can have some input, because I think this is a wonderful opportunity that we are having these dialogues, and I'm open, I think, if we have another discussion or the third discussion. So the point here is, what I'm saying, Seema started the discussion with people not only a verbal apology, a genuine, sincere apology, and what I understood in a genuine, sincere apology, one is you recognize you did something wrong, hurt somebody's feelings, you genuinely apologize, and then take steps that it doesn't happen again. Because if it keeps on repeating, that means that they need either some professional help or some kind of a reflection that it should not repeat. If it keeps on repeating, that means that apology is not effective. So I'm saying that in the couple, there are ways of communication, a healthy communication, an unhealthy communication, and if two parties cannot do it, then they might need a third party. Actually, sometimes we need 4 people. In my clinic, even as a therapist, there's an expression we use, getting triangulated. For example, if I'm seeing a couple, and if I feel that she thinks that I'm being a man joining with a man, and she feels she's being ganked, we are attacking her, then I'm not effective. In the same way, if the husband feels that I'm too sympathetic to the wife, I'm not listening to her, so then I had a co-therapist in my clinic. First, I used to have an Ann Henderson as a co-therapist, then I had Betty Davis, then I invite my co-therapist and give the couple an option. One of you choose me and one of you choose Betty as your therapist. So 2 people and 2 mediators, so that both feel represented in that discussion. So I think sometimes there is a very basic fundamental steps that we need to take that there is a genuine discussion, there is genuine understanding of the problem, and the genuine steps to make it better. And if there is no willingness, if they are just there because the neighbor said and the family said, then it's not going to work. There has to be genuine willingness that we are both in the same boat. We are both willing to improve the relationship, make it healthier, make it happier, make it more peaceful. And if we need a professional help, then we'll get the professional help. Many, the reason USMA and Women Council is arranging these, that many men, this focus is, they are not willing to take that step, they're not willing to be aware, they're not willing to engage in the relationship, or in therapy they feel, oh, I'm Mr. Know-it-all, who is the third party going to teach me anything? So I think we are addressing that issue, that to get help, to get social help or professional help, there is a willingness that, yeah, this relationship is important to me, and I'm going to improve it personally or professionally. So let me leave it here, give all of you, I want to get your opinion of all of you. So just, I appreciate if you make it a short kind of a response so that all of you get the chance. So that what I want to ask you is that in solving the problem, in making the relationship better, the points Seema made or I made, any comment that touched you or made you aware, and if not, if you have any other suggestion, because we're all learning from each other's experience. So let me start. Any comment you would like to?
Yeah, I think I came a little bit late, but as Seema said, that there need to be a boundary when wife is going to refuse, accept apology.
Not fine, anybody.
Anybody. So that I think there is a quality of relation will be changed then. It needs to be changed, quality of relation. And how quality of relation is need to be changed, that's a self-awareness. That's the basic thing. And as far as you said, what's up, green and red zone, I think if both the parties are capable of understanding these zones, then most of the problem will be resolved. That's the basic.
Okay, thank you. Ritesh, any comment?
Yeah, I saw a synthesis happen from the apology. There was a question about what if it's a habit. I was thinking about that, but also from Dr. Sohail's summary, there was an answer to that too, and I also wanted to bring that up because we have a relationship. When you're in a relationship, there's obviously going to be some compromises. You cannot be fully yourself. You have to have like a compromise. And I don't want to even say compromise, like you negotiate to live together, right? And then if you can do that for your boss at work, you can obviously do that to your love of your life, right? So we don't have a problem with that because it's our boss. But then when it comes to relationship, we kind of, step back. So I think with that habit, yeah, we all have habits, but I think understanding and negotiating. I can go this far, can you come this far? Then do we agree on this? Should I make changes? And with love, that kind of gets, and that also helps with the apology. Then that becomes sincere, and then after the apology, we can negotiate what we like and what we don't like. And also, the ego aspect comes with the apology. And also to come for therapy. Why do I need to come for therapy? I know everything. I'm right? So that kind of mentality would also lead into the apology aspect. I didn't do anything wrong. She had to understand. I'm doing this with love. I'm actually doing this with love, although he or she was rude. So I think ego and negotiation. I think that would be a very good point too. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any comment you want to make? No? Mr. Ji, any comment?
एक बस एक शेयर है जो हम बात कर रहे हैं कि किस तरह से दूसरे को मना लिया जाए, चीज़ें ठीक हो जाए, उस हवाले से है। आई नो के जो हमारे यंग दोस्त हैं दे विल टेक इट डिफरेंटली, और जो मेरी एज के हैं मुझसे वो और प्रोसेस को देखें। नर्म अल्फाज, भली बातें, मुहज़्ज़ब लहजे। नर्म अल्फाज, भली बातें, मुहज़्ज़ब लहजे, पहली बारिश में ही ये रंग उतर जाते हैं। तो
लेकिन इसके जवाब में वो आगे से ये भी कहते हैं कितने शीरी है तेरे लब।
Thank you.
Can you give me the gist of it in English?
He's saying that all these nice words and nice gestures and goodwill gestures, he's saying the first rain or the first crisis when it comes, it all washes away and your true nature comes out and then you are. So he has this certain skeptical, cynical view about relationships. He says you are happy as far as you're living alone. The moment you start living with somebody else, within a few months it will be a big disaster. That's it.
Yeah,
So he wants
both
everybody to
of them
live.
genuinely have to be willing to work over it.
Willingness.
Genuinely, yes.
Okay. Any comment you would like to?
I would like to say that it was wonderful to hear all of that because relationships are difficult always with everybody, whether it is your partner or children or even sometimes co-workers as well. So wonderful, to hear all of that, and wonderful reminder, I would say, we should and never and what was the third word? Always. Those words should be written on our, as magnet on our refrigerator, because that's how we always start our conversation with someone whenever we are angry or we don't feel like they should be doing the things the way we want them to do, right? तो ये वाकई में 3 लफ्ज़ जो है वो बहुत important है. And I've been consistently thinking about my relationship with my son, and I'm trying to, and you mentioned like 10% and 90%, so red zone of 10% in any relationship where we can work on or we can stop talking about it. And I'm consistently thinking, and this is really useful because I'm thinking about my relationship with my adult son, and I don't know, is it 90 and 10 or it's 60 and 40 and 40% is in red zone. So that's something which I'm taking away from here, and I'll be thinking about it throughout the time to figure out like how much is that red zone and what is in that red zone and how to overlook that and how to focus on the 60% which we share or 70% which we share.
Just give you an example. There's a lady that I worked with for the last 3 years. She has 2 daughters. Because she is very traditional, and these daughters they're artists, they're like all these creative personalities. So they don't have the same kind of a lifestyle. So the mother wants them to get married, wants to have the grandchildren and whatever, and they are not. So that issue kept on. So now that after the discussion, when she stopped discussing that, the relationship improved significantly, because that was a sore point that kept on repeating like sort of a broken record. So I think for her to recognize that it's okay for a traditional people to have families and to have children, grandchildren, but some creative people choose not to do that. So
Or maybe not ready yet. Yeah.
Thank you. Any comment?
Yes, I have one point, and there are 2 points. One is when it comes to men and women, men somehow are on the higher plane and women on the lower plane with respect to their earning capacity, earning potentials. So what I suggest is that women should definitely improve their skills, and I mean skills relating to money generation. Like what happens, most of them sit home and wait for the husband to come and have dinner, and she's late, there's back and forth arguments. The idea women should be equally busy in her career, occupation, skills, so that when she, and then money never hurts. When women starts making money, she becomes very important. So now I'm making money alone, then the woman with me would feel that what, he's on the higher ground and I have got to obey him. But when we are on equal pedestals, we both are earning, our potentials to earn money is fantastic, then we are both happy. And we are on equal terms. So I think it's very important that all our ladies, women must improve their skills, professional skills, or whatever skills they can possibly have to generate money. Because here in this country, we don't have any support system. There's no insulation. We have to work today, bring our food on the table. So if we're not in a capacity to be able to generate enough revenue against expenses involved, then we will have a tussle altogether. Number 2, this aesthetic aspect also. Women sometimes, that's my personal view, I'm not offending any lady. What happens once they are not married, right? They are very particular about their appearance, they look nice, they do their best to look their best, right? But once they get married, they tend to get away from the fact that, कहते हैं ना वजूद ज़र से तस्वीर कायनात कर रहा.
तो ब्यूटी इज ऑलवेज ब्यूटीफुल, राइट? तो क्या होता है कि वी शुड ऑल्सो ट्राई टू ग्रूम आवरसेल्फ एंड लुक आवर बेस्ट. Look our best, not in terms of just saying, not from cosmetic point of view, but in terms of our how do you say, attitude and our sort of, treatment to each other, and then of course a little bit of grooming always helps. So when you look beautiful, naturally you get attracted, and that holds good for both. It's not that I don't follow hygiene, I don't follow the normal, way to groom myself. It should be all reciprocally. The more better you look, the better the pleasant our relationships are. So the two, aesthetic value and the monetary value. Thank you.
We'll come afterwards to Mushtaq ji because he wants to have some kind of comment. So I think in our green zone sort of a philosophy, we also say that once a week, even if you're married for 11 or 21 or 31 years, have a regular date. And that you're saying is to go on a date, that you take a shower, to get dressed, make something special, looks wonderful, so that there is more. And in that date night, you're not allowed to discuss the problems. You just enjoy each other's company.
And the light.
And the problem you will discuss some other day.
With the same person? Date with the same person?
That person will look every time a new person.
Yeah.
That's true.
I know, but
Yeah.
not like sometimes, but not all the time. Like sometimes you don't want your partner to do better than you. I have seen couples like that.
Really?
Yeah.
So Sanjay, any comment you want to make?
Yeah, if you allow me, I would choose Punjabi this time. Bulle Shah, who was much wiser than all of us together, he once said कि इज्जत हुकूमत लोक लज्या प्रेमी सब कुछ तज दे कौनो प्रेमी की अख वाला जो इज्जत वाल तक दे प्रेम ते इज्जत दोवें एक थां रह सकदे ना इकट्ठे एक थां जे एक आ जांदा है दूजा उत्थों नस्से है. So choice is very clear. Either you choose a relationship or you choose role playing. If you try to discipline yourself, balance yourself, relationship will be ruined because it would start looking fake. The other person knows that even if you are apologizing or expressing love, it's nothing but you are just trying to be a gentleman. I think we love more the wild part of each other when we, we love Zulf more than Bal. वो बिखरी हुई जो जुल्फें होती हैं उसका मतलब उसकी खूबसूरती कुछ अलग होती है बजाय के कंघी करे हुए बाल.
Thank you. You want to make any comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say controlling should not be the main factor in a relationship, and we should be expressing each other's freedom. There has to be freedom and independence. And we should not be controlling each other. We should talk about it. Or if you are feeling controlled because I said you do this or you do that, then express feelings and express.
Thank you. Want to make any comment? Vada, any comment you want to make?
No, I think it was great. I think really good. I will have more.
Did you any thoughts?
Amazing session as always. I know ग्रीन जोन फिलॉसफी मेरे लिए बहुत काम करती है तो इसलिए मेरे लिए तो वो जो ग्रीन जोन फिलॉसफी है वो हेल्दी रिलेशनशिप की बेस्ट है.
Would you like to make any comment?
मैं जैसे इस सारी सिचुएशन में सारे कमेंट्स सुने हैं तो मैंने अपने बच्चों के लिए जो सोचा है कि जैसे अब आप कह रहे हैं कि हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ का रिलेशनशिप फर्स्ट थिंग ये है कि हमारे यहाँ सबसे पहले शुरू वहीं से हो जाता है जब आप एक बंदे के ऊपर ये बोझ डाल देते हो कि इकोनॉमिकली वो ही फाइनेंस करेगा और जब ये चीज़ आ जाती है और आप अपनी बेटियों को कुछ नहीं करने देते बिकॉज वो आपकी इज्जत के ऊपर आता है कि वो कमाएं तो फर्स्ट आप उनको डिसेबल बना देते हो देन आप उन आदमियों को डिसेबल बना देते हो कि वो कुकिंग क्लीनिंग और कुछ भी नहीं जानते सो दो डिसेबिलिटी जब एक जगह आती हैं और फिर क्योंकि पैसा से ही तो हर चीज़ चलती है और पैसा उसके पास है तो वो पावर यूज़ करता है क्योंकि हमने उसको सिखा दिया है क्योंकि उसने कमाना है तो खाना भी उसको पहले देना और हर चीज़ उसके लिए पहले करनी ठीक है और जब हम उसको ये सिखाते ही नहीं कि जब बीवी आएगी तो उसके साथ हमने क्या ट्रीट करना है ये बात हमारे माशरे में कहीं घरों में नहीं होती तो आदमियों को पहले तो यही नहीं पता होता कि औरत के साथ डील कैसे करना और जो वो डीलिंग सीखते हैं वो भी नेगेटिव होती है और हमारे जो कमेंट होता है लड़कियों के साथ मोस्टली जब हम उनको नहीं चाहते कि वो फाइनेंशियली इंडिपेंडेंट हो और बाहर जाएं और हर चीज़ करें क्योंकि हम समझते हैं अगर वो बाहर जाएंगी तो उनके पास तो दिमाग आ जाएगा और वो हमारे अगेंस्ट चलेगी, बहुत सारी कॉम्प्लिकेशन है इस सिचुएशन में। तो वहाँ पर हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ की रिलेशनशिप सबसे पहले खराब होती है बिकॉज आपने उनको डिसेबिलिटीज पे जोड़ा है। एक फाइनेंशियली इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं है, दूसरा अपनी लाइफ इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं गुजार सकता, उसको काम वाली चाहिए। तो हस्बैंड एंड वाइफ का रिलेशनशिप तो वहीं खत्म हो गया बिकॉज देयर इज नो इंटीमेसी, देयर इज बार्गेन। बट आई थिंक कि अगर मैं कैसे अपने बच्चों को इस चीज़ से बाहर निकाल सकती हूँ, मैंने ये सोचा है, जैसे मैं अपने बच्चों से बात करती हूँ कि नेवर मैरी फॉर समवन दैट यू कैन डिपेंड ऑन फाइनेंशियली, इवन आप गर्ल हो या बॉय हो। और आप कभी भी इस बात पे शादी ना करना कि कोई आपको खाना पका के देगा या आपको पैसे देगा। आपके पास अपनी इंडिपेंडेंस होनी चाहिए। यू हैव टू बी सो इंडिपेंडेंट कि जब आप किसी को चूज करो तो आप इस बात पे चूज करो कि आपकी सोच कैसी है, इंटेलेक्चुअल इंटीमेसी, आपकी उसके साथ इमोशनल कनेक्शन कैसा है, रिस्पेक्ट कैसी हो, और कैसे दो इंडिपेंडेंट लोग, जब आपकी कोई बार्गेन नहीं है, वो भी वाइल्ड होगा, आप भी वाइल्ड होगा, आपकी अपनी चॉइसेस, पसंद, आना जाना हर चीज़ होगी, दूसरे की भी होगी। फिर आपने ये सोचना है कि हमने कैसे एक फैमिली जनरेट करनी है, कैसे एक लाइफ चलनी है। तो वहाँ ट्रस्ट भी होगा बिकॉज दोनों इंडिपेंडेंट है, कॉन्फिडेंट है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग है। उसको बाहर जाके कोई ब्लैकमेल करने का खौफ नहीं है, उसको ये खौफ नहीं है कि मुझे डिस्टर्ब करेगा। हस्बैंड का ये नहीं है कि वो चीटिंग करेगा बिकॉज उसकी बीवी इतनी अच्छी नहीं है जैसे बाकी लड़कियाँ। सो देयर इज लॉट ऑफ थिंग बट आई अंडरस्टैंड कि ओके मेरे बच्चों में ये चीज़ें नहीं होनी चाहिए। जब वो शादी करे तो मेरे बेटों को भी सब कुछ आता हो, बेटियों को भी आता हो, देन दे चूज द पर्सन दे वांट टू लिव आर टुगेदर विद देयर इंटरेस्ट कि वो क्या हो, बजाय कंट्रोल फैक्टर है। मतलब कंट्रोल फैक्टर तो आएगा ही नहीं बिकॉज वो भी इंडिपेंडेंट है, हर चीज़ कर रही है और वो भी इंडिपेंडेंट है, हर चीज़ कर रही है। वहाँ आप कम्युनिकेशन करोगे कि हमें कौन से तरीकों से जिंदगी गुजारनी। बट ये हम अपने बच्चों को सिखाते नहीं तो उनको आता नहीं, उनका कसूर नहीं है, कसूर फिर भी हमारा ही है। बट हमने जैसे टॉक शुरू किया है तो हमें इस चीज़ पे बात करने की होगी, हम सोल्यूशन क्या निकालेंगे। सोल्यूशन के लिए हमें लाजमन दोनों को इंडिपेंडेंट करना होगा। देखिए आप ही कहते हो कि औरत और आदमी बराबर नहीं है बिकॉज उनकी फिजिकल डिमांड डिफरेंट है, बट ये कहीं पर भी वो नहीं कहते कि वो बराबर नहीं है। अगर हम बहुत बैक हिस्ट्री में जाएं, आदमी जब शिकार पे जाते थे तो औरतें ही थी जो सारा कुछ चलाती थी। उनको कोई इज्जत का खौफ नहीं था, उनको पानी भर के किलोमीटर से लाने का खौफ नहीं था, वो कमज़ोर नहीं थी, वो इतने पानी भर के लाती, चक्के चलाती, हर चीज़ करती। वो पूरे मुआशरे को संभालती थी, आदमी काफरों में बाहर होते थे, वो ब्रेव थी, वो लड़ती थी, वो हर चीज़ करती थी। आज भी हमें वैसी है, लेकिन हमने अपने कंट्रोल के इनिशियल में उसको बिल्कुल ख़त्म कर दिया, पूरा घर ही तबाह हो गया, पूरा निज़ाम ही तबाह हो। इसको कंट्रोल में वापस इनको लाने के लिए हमें वही चीज़ें करनी पड़ेगी, तभी हम खुश रहेंगे, जो मैं समझती हूँ।
थैंक यू। Want to make any comment, young lady? No? आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
हाँ जी, मेरी इंसाइट्स काफ़ी, वो मैं का नाम नहीं पता, उनके साथ देखती है। तो लास्ट टाइम मैं सेशन अटेंड किया ਸੀਗਾ, ਕਾਫੀ ਦੇਖੀ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਾਫੀ ਸੀ ਮੇਰਾ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ 3 ਵਰਡ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੋਲੇ ਨੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ, ਆਲਵੇਜ਼ ਰਿਮੈਂਬਰ। ਮੈਂ ਇਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਰੈਡ ਜ਼ੋਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਟਾਪ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਲਰਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ। ਦੂਸਰਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਰਿਲੇਸ਼ਨਸ਼ਿਪ जिदा मेरा बेटा है, ਉਹਦੀ गर्लफ्रेंड है, मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम फोन पे लगे रहता है। मैं उसकी मदर हाँ, मैं भी सिर्फ अपना बच्चे ही समझती हूँ, मैं नहीं सोचती कि वो गलत साड़ी इस बीच मैं भी किन टाइम रेड फिर मैं उसके बाद एक 2 मिनट क्योंकि मैं अपने एजुकेट किया स्टॉप कर लिया कि रिफ्लैक्ट भी किया भी क्यों हो रहा है, तो मैनू ये एक्सैप्ट करना थोड़ा औखा लग गया हूँ कि उसकी अटेंशन कितने हो जा रही है। मैं सोचती है कि वो मेरे को बैठे, मैं उनको को बुलाऊँ तो आ नहीं करना, और नहीं करना, आधे लिए गाऊँगा, आधे लिए वो सुनने लिए तैयार नहीं है क्योंकि वो डिवेल्प हुआ अपने आप से ना, फिर पता सारा कुछ उधर की करता कि ये मैं बाद में सोच के आया कि दूसरी गल आई कि सॉरी फील करेगी, असली उसे चुप हो गई बिना गल नहीं करेगी, बट स्टिल साਡਾ प्यार हैगा आपसे।
कमाने का अच्छा है तो वुमेन इफ दे नीड एम्पावर्ड वुमेन, यू नो, एंड आई ऑलवेज टेल इन माय सेशंस दैट जो मैस्कुलिन को मैस्कुलिन कौन बनाता है, who brings man into their right masculine energy is the feminine energy, and who makes a woman bring into actual feminine energy is the masculine energy. हम एक दूसरे के लाइटर हैं, राइट? सो अगर मैं आज सज के बैठ जाऊं घर पे, मैंने बहुत खूबसूरत औरतों के मर्दों को चीट करते हुए देखा है, ठीक है? Having a best sex in the bed, I have seen men cheating, okay? But love language की जो मैंने बात की, अब if I'm a man, if I tell my women that you know शाम को तैयार रहना, हम दोनों तैयार होके चलेंगे, उसमें से 1 किलो बो आ रही हो पसीने की, औरत सजकर क्या कर रही है, you know? And or vice versa, you know, if I'm looking good for my man and my man is like sitting in whatever that ugly pajama, you know, I'm looking good for who? Definitely for myself, but for my masculine energy, right? It's very important. The other thing is that keeping women busy. Women are already very busy. They don't have to keep themselves busy. But bringing money is very important. But bringing money is important for who? For the family, and a man is part of the family. So if a woman is going outside to bring money, so man should share the household chores too. Because women cannot play 2 roles. And why the families are destroying? Because women are playing many roles. You know, who ignited the masculine energy in women? Men. Not I'm saying to all of you, due respect, but the world nowadays is like men who became princes. Right? So if you in the sense men would have let the princess would be a princess, she would have that nazakat also. ठीक है ना? वो क्यों अकड़ जाती हैं आजकल, क्योंकि हम लोगों में feminine energy गायब होती जा रही है ना, हम लोग गायब होते जा रही है. So for any healthy relationship, if a man would want to feel a man, make your woman as a woman. And I always say that in my sessions, that you say that I'm a king of the jungle. So king lives with who? A slave? No. King lives with the queen. So you're only looking a king when your woman is the queen.
Thank you. And last one. So aesthetic sense की this is very important जो आपने बात की है. I think aesthetic sense एक appearance नहीं होती है. It's the awareness of your mind. अगर 2 पार्टनर्स के अंदर सेम फ्रीक्वेंसी में है, तो जो भी है ब्यूटी का कॉन्सेप्ट वो बहुत रिलेटिव चीज़ है. एक चीज़ हो सकता है कि मेरे लिए बहुत खूबसूरत हो, लेकिन किसी के लिए बिल्कुल भी ना हो. वो लैला के बारे में मशहूर है कि वो गाना है, लैला को काबू बांधे कीड़े हो लाखों बदन में. बेशक तो हर एक की लैला डिफरेंट होती है. मर्द भी लैला बनता है और औरत भी लैला बनती है. ये वाइस वर्सा है ब्यूटी का कॉन्सेप्ट.
उन्होंने शायद एक बात की थी, बेटी मैं एक बात कहना चाहूँगी. माई ओन सिस्टर, माई यंगर सिस्टर, वेरी प्रिटी, गुड लुकिंग. सो और उसके हस्बैंड वो टॉल है काफ़ी, एंड उसका हस्बैंड सेम हाइट का है. सो व्हेनेवर शी वांटेड लाइक नई शादी हुई है, सच के लाइक अच्छा लिपस्टिक बिंदी लगा के वो बाहर, मतलब उनका कोई लाइक स्ट्रीट नेबरहुड में कोई फंक्शन था, उसने उसको इतना रुलाया और पीटा कि मुंह साफ कर और कपड़े दूसरे पहन तभी वो बाहर जाएगी, बिकॉज़ शी वाज लुकिंग वेरी प्रिटी.
या ये होता है बिल्कुल होता है. गजली
पहले इन्वेस्ट करना चाहिए. You need to make yourself capable enough कि आप किसी भी रिलेशनशिप में जाके कुछ दे सकें. उस मेन गेम से बेहतर है उसके अंदर झांक के अपने आप को बिल्ड करें, क्योंकि उससे फिर you will find a better partner, you become a better parent किसी भी रिलेशनशिप में. So I think और सजना I think अपने लिए मेहनत करना और अपने लिए प्रेजेंटेबल अगर आप अपने लिए करोगे कुछ, then you get into the habit of like, then you don't have to. फिर बाकी लोग आपसे वैसे ही अट्रैक्ट होते हैं. You can't just like pretend कि अच्छा आपको औरों को अट्रैक्ट करना है, आपको औरों से sympathy gain करनी है, attention gain करनी है. So I think it's a hard topic and it's like a hard one to like grasp, but like it's also hard कि आप अपने बारे में पहले put yourself first, then think about the other relations that we can get into.
फाइनल कमेंट इससे पहले कि उस्मा जी अपनी बातें करें, जो कल्चरल या जनरेशनल जो आप बात कर रही हैं, तो जो मेरी वालदा या नानी की जो जनरेशन थी उसमें फॉर सम रीज़न जो कुर्बानी है, सेक्रीफाइस को औरत के साथ जोड़ा था कि वो अपने बाप के लिए, माँ के लिए, शौहर के लिए, बच्चों के लिए कुर्बानी दे, सो दैट वाज कंसिडर्ड ए वर्च्यू। अब ग्रेजुअली जो चेंज है, जो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ये है कि वो जो कुर्बानी थी वो एक लेवल तक तो बहुत अच्छी थी, लेकिन माओ ने इतनी कुर्बानी थी कि उनकी जो अपनी नीड्स थी वो इतनी सफ़र हुई कि किसी को एंजाइटी है, किसी को डिप्रेशन है, किसी को सर में दर्द है, कमर में दर्द है। उसके लिए या तो आप मदर ट्रीसा हो, इतनी कुर्बानी दें कि आप पूरे लाइफ सेक्रीफाइस करें। तो मदर ट्रीसा ने भी फिर ऑब्वियसली शादी नहीं की, बच्चे नहीं पैदा किए, वो आपका और खुदा का मामला है। लेकिन जो इंसानी रिश्ते हैं उसके अंदर जो बैलेंस है, द एंड ऑफ द डे कैन वी फाइंड अ बैलेंस। तो अब हम ये कह रहे हैं कि सेल्फ केयर जो है, कि सेल्फ केयर इज़ नॉट सेल्फिशनेस। सारी बात ये है कि हम अपना ख्याल रखें, ताकि अगर मैं थेरेपिस्ट हूँ, अगर मैं ही रेड जोन में हूँ तो वो मैं अपने मरीज का क्या करूँ। तो टू लुक आफ्टर, तो मैं माओ को कहता हूँ कि आप जन्नत बीबी नहीं, आप अपने आप को इस बच्चे की माँ समझें। तो आप अपना ख्याल रखेंगी तो फिर आप एज ए माँ, एज ए बीवी भी कर सकेंगे। अगर आप अपना ख्याल नहीं रखेंगी तो फिर आप खुद ही दुखी हो जाएंगी, फिर आपके लिए मुश्किल है। ये बहुत अच्छा टॉपिक है। आई एम ग्लैड उस्मा जी को थोड़ी सी फिक्र।
कमेंट मैं करना चाहूँगी जो अभी डॉक्टर साहब ने बोला। तो मेरी टेबल के जाना कंप्यूटर टेबल है मेरे सामने, मैंने लिख के रखा है कि खुद ख्याली खुद गर्जी नहीं है। तो ये डॉक्टर साहब का कमेंट है, तो मैंने उसको लिख के रखा है कि वो अपने पे अगर आप सेल्फ अवेयरनेस होगी तो सब कुछ।
ये मैंने अपना मिला था कि ये सेल्फ केयर का उर्दू में तो मैंने खुद ही बनाया है कि खुद ख्याली जो है खुद गर्जी नहीं है, जस्ट टू ट्रांसलेट है। तो मैं फाइनली उस्मा साहबा को वापस देता हूँ, शी वांट्स टू मेक सम फाइनल कमेंट्स बिफोर वी फिनिश।